Hi everyone, I'm Julia from the Melbourne Osteopathic Clinic. Welcome to another Pilates session. So we've got half an hour of Pilates ahead of us. We're going to start today lying on your back with your feet flat on the floor and knees bent in our constructive rest position. So keep your feet and knees together so we've got a bit of connection through the inner thigh. And then place your hands on your pelvis there, and we're just going to start with a little bit of tilting forward and back through the pelvis to get some movement, but to also help us establish where our middle ground is, which is what we refer to as neutral pelvis. So a little bit of forward and back here, and then a bit of side to side, just getting some movement happening to prepare ourselves for the session. So once you've done that, find that middle ground, so there's no side to side shift, there's no forward or back shift, and you'll likely have a little arch through your lower back as a result of that. And then with your hands, I want you to move so that each hand is about halfway between your hip bone and your belly button. So if you are cutting yourself into thirds, you're on that 1/3 line and 2/3 line. So this is going to give us a really good indication of what's happening with your deep abdominal muscles. So what we're going to do is a single knee float. So take an inhale to prepare, and then on the exhale, you float your left knee up into that tabletop position, and then as you inhale, lower. Exhale, float the right, inhale, and lower. So what you're monitoring for underneath your hands is that you're not getting any large blasting of those muscles, so no really strong, obvious contraction. If you are getting that, then I want you to regress this exercise. So sliding your foot along the floor or along the mat if you've got one, and returning it to you. Hopefully that settles off that feeling. If you're not quite sure what I mean by a blast, keep your hands where they are and then lift both of your knees up into that tabletop position. Unless you've done a lot of Pilates, it's likely that that will give you that sense of kind of bulging or blasting through those lower abdominals. So that's what we're trying to avoid, and we're reinforcing the good habit of not doing that and trusting our really strong torso, which is our anchor for this. So whether it's knee floats or knee slides, just do what your level is at the moment. If the single leg is relatively comfortable for you, you can walk into that tabletop position. So one leg followed by the other, returning one down and then lowering, so that it's not both at once, but you are getting that challenge of having both feet off the floor at the same time. Last round of this. And then keeping both feet flat on the floor, keep your hands where they are just to get that sense of what's happening through the abdominals. And I want you to lower your left knee out towards the left, just until you start to get movement through the pelvis there. Follow it with the right, and then return to the top. This time leading right knee drops out to the right, left knee follows, and return to the top. So just keep the range relatively small with this knee tag. It's really about getting some dissociation, so some independent hip movement, rather than trying to dramatically increase hip range. Going to go one more to each side. Great. And then leave your feet where they are. Keep your pelvis in that neutral position and bring your hands around the back of your head, and we're going to work into some curl ups. So in breath to prepare. As you exhale, I want you to bring your chin towards your chest, curling up, so a nice curl through your upper back, and then slowly lowering that back down. So we're coming up on that exhale, lowering on the inhale. Now you might be able to sense what's happening through your abdominals when you start to do these curl ups. If you need that tactile feedback, you can place one hand back where you had it to feel that you're not getting that blasting into your hand. If you are, just take a little bit of a range off, be nice and heavy with your head into your hand, and see if you can get curl up happening without getting this panic through your abdominals. It's really about finding that sense of depth and curling over that. We're going to do one more straight. And then we're going to come into an oblique. So curling up to the left, to the center, and back down. Coming up to the right, to the center, and back down. If you find it a little bit much with the twist, just come back to your straight curl ups. And then if you'd like a progression, I'm going to take you into a roll up. So straighten both legs out. This is if you want to progress. Hands on your thighs, starting off the same way. So inhale to prepare. As you exhale, chin to chest, curling through your upper back, curling through your lower back, and then reaching forward towards your toes and initiating that movement by tucking underneath with your pelvis. So like you're trying to drag your bum on the floor, lower back, upper back, and head return. And then keep moving through that. So whatever level is appropriate for you. Either the curl ups, curl up with an oblique twist, or these roll ups. Going to work through one more. And we're going to stay up at the top. Great. So everyone up in that long sitting, so legs are out straight. Place your hands just behind your hips, and then I want you to come up into that bridge type position. Take an inhale to prepare, and then we're going to do a single leg lift and lower. Then with the right, exhale and lift, inhale, lower. Going to go for 4 each side, so we're halfway there. Exhale, lifting the left, inhale, lower. Exhale, lifting the right, inhale, lower. Last two. And then I want you to bend both knees, come towards the front of your mat, hug around your shins for me, and then tuck underneath with your pelvis, create a nice round back for rolling back like a ball and up. So you don't want to need too much momentum for this. If you create a nice round shape, you should be able to just roll it back and roll it up. If you do want to regress that, come down to the floor, hug onto those knees, and just putting a little bit of weight into your hands and then coming back. Bit of weight into the hands and coming back. Make sure that if you're doing this regression that you're not bobbing too much with your head. So it's just about getting that rocking back and forth on your lower back. So let's see if we can do a couple more rolls. And then coming back onto the floor in our constructive rest position again. So feet are flat on the floor, knees are together, you've got that inner thigh connection, hands on the front of your pelvis, and we are working into a bridge. So starting off with that tuck underneath, so a posterior curl with our pelvis, and then keeping that going. So I want you really peeling yourself off the floor. So it's one by one segments of your spine leaving the floor, and then lowering that back down the way you came. So one by one, trying to lay yourself back onto the floor. So imagine if your spine is kind of like a sticker, and we're pulling it off from one end of the sticker, trying to keep it intact, but then we're deciding to lay it back down. We don't want any bubbles or gaps underneath, so we're doing it nice and smoothly in order. If you would like to progress, when you're at the top of this bridge, I'm going to add in a single march on each leg. So lifting the right, lowering, lifting the left, lowering, and then again sticking that sticker back down to the floor. So up to you if you'd like to add a march in at the top, go with whatever's feeling comfortable. We're going to do 2 more. Really focus on keeping your knees squeezed, keeping that inner thigh connection for me. Perfect. So then with control, bring both legs into that tabletop position and then straighten out your knees. We're going to go into a roll over. This is quite an advanced exercise, so if you would like to do it with bent knees, that is perfectly okay. So legs are straight, feet are facing up towards the ceiling, and you're trying to keep your legs straight, bringing your feet back behind you, and then rolling up and over. So same principle as with that bridge. You're trying to really peel yourself off the floor one by one. So it's not one big lift. It's trying to be nice and segmental through the spine, up and over. If you can touch the floor with your feet behind your head. See what is capable for you today. Certainly don't push the boundaries too far. Like I said, if you want to do this with bent knees, that is perfectly okay. So we're just tucking up into a bit of a ball and then rolling that back down. So again, segmental, peeling off the lowest part of your spine, so the tailbone's coming off, then your lower back, then your upper back, and back down. See if you can keep as relaxed as possible through arms and shoulders. They shouldn't be doing too much of this work. We're going to do one more here. And then when you're ready, come into our 4-point kneeling position. So on your hands and knees, hands underneath your shoulders, knees underneath your hips, and keeping a nice neutral spine, so a bit of a dip through your lower back. Just shift your body weight back towards the heels and then coming up. Give a little bit of freedom through the hips. We're going to do one more of these. And then step your left foot forward, pick up your left hand, and I want you to, so left foot is out next to your left hand, pick that left hand up, reach it underneath your right arm, so you're getting a really nice twist, and then come out and open out towards the left. So we're doing a thread the needle here, but a little bit modified so that we can get a bit more of a stretch, a bit more action through that left hip. Last one here. And then place that left hand back down, bring your left knee back, take your right foot out beside your right hand, pick up that right hand, thread it underneath your left arm for a nice twist, and open out to the right. Again, staying nice and steady through lower back, through that right hip, so that we can really get the full enjoyment out of this stretch. Good. Bring that right hand back down, bring your left knee back down, and as we did at the start, I want you to do a little bit of pelvic tilting. So tilting your pelvis forward and back. So imagine if your pelvis is a bucket, you're tipping a bucket of water, you're tipping it in front of you, so in front of your knees, and then you're trying to scoop that water back up. So tipping forward and scooping up. Again, tipping forward and scooping up. I want you to then find the middle ground here, so not too far anterior or forward, so the arch to lower back isn't too much and we're not really round. So just find that middle ground point for me, maintain that, and we're going to extend out each leg. So nice breath in to prepare. As you exhale, I want you to extend your left leg back. Inhale, return. As you exhale, extend the right. Inhale, return. So take yourself back to when we were doing the knee floats and knee slides at the start of the class, and you were focused on maintaining that pelvic position and making sure you weren't getting any blasting through those lower abdominals. That is still very relevant right now. Making sure we have those ABCs, so alignment as well as breathing and our centering. Then let's work the arms in for a diagonal reach. So this time, left leg, right arm, reaching away and returning. As you exhale, right leg, left arm, inhale, return. So we're always moving away on that exhalation, returning on the inhale. work through one more on each side. And then this time I want you to bring your right knee up so it's bent at 90 degrees. And then you're trying to push your heel towards the roof and lower. Heel towards the roof and lower. Just going to do 10 of these. Maintaining that position through your pelvis, through your trunk. And then return that right knee in, pick up the left knee. So again, holding it at that 90-degree position, try and maintain that trunk stability. Knee up, lower, and again for 10. You might notice that you're not as stable on one side compared to the other. That's perfectly normal. Certainly the aim of Pilates is to try and iron out those differences. Once more here. Return that left knee. Find that position again where you do have a little bit of a dip through your lower back. And again, we're going to sink our hips towards heels. Just get a bit more loosening through those hips. Now we're doing some more work. So this should be a really good combination of stretching through the front of the hips, a bit of mobilization, so movement, and also activating through our glutes, so back of the hips, to try and settle off any tension that might be pulling them forwards and jamming up through your lower back. And do one more here. And then we're stepping out again, so left foot outside of that left hand. Pick up your left hand, thread it underneath your right arm, and then open out to the left. 5 more of these. Good. Place that left hand back, left knee returns, right foot steps out, outside of your right hand threads underneath your left arm and then out to the right. Try and really get a nice twist through the torso, so through the chest especially, as you're rotating here. I think we've got one more to go. Bring that right hand back. Bring your right knee back and sinking towards those heels one more time. Last one of these. And then maintaining that position with hands underneath shoulders, knees underneath hips. Let's work into our cat. So pelvis tips forward, arching, nice extension through the spine, a little bit of a look up, and then tuck underneath with your pelvis, get that curl, that rounding, and then looking between the knees. So cycle through those two positions. One more round through. And then when you're ready, let's lie face down on the mat. So I want you to make a bit of a pillow with your hands for your forehead. So resting your forehead on your hands there. Try and make sure that you're nice and settled and relaxed through your lower back. This left leg is going to extend up and away from your hip. So inhale to prepare, and exhale, point the toes, lift that left foot up and away from your body. Lower with the inhale, and then next exhale, lift and lower that right leg. So I want this to be as much about length as it is height here. So you're thinking that I'm pulling on your foot, pulling that leg out of your hip socket, and then gently lowering it down. If you are getting a sense of any jamminess through your lower back, just take a breath or two to try and settle that off as much as you can. You don't want to have too many muscles firing and attacking each other at the moment. And then continue with these lifts, but just make them a little bit lower, so take some range off. If you'd like to progress this, we'll go into some swimmers. So arms are out in front of you, forehead on the floor, or you can just hover it up a little bit, and then it's alternate arm and leg lift. Lower on the inhale, exhale, alternate arm and leg lift, and lower as we were doing a bit earlier. And then you're going to work that in with a bit of extension and swimming. See if you can stay up for 3 breaths. Then lower. Take a breath to recover. Up again for 3 breaths. And lower. We're going to go one more time through that. If it is a bit much doing the swimmers, then certainly just do the leg extension. So last time through, coming up. And back down. Beautiful. Bring your arms down so you're in that cactus type position. Turn your head so that our right ear is on the floor, and then with our next exhale we're going to lift up into a bit of a sphinx. Inhale and lower, and turn and look right. Exhale, pressure through the hands, elbows, forearms, up into that sphinx. Inhale and lower. So we'll do a few of these just to finish off. We haven't done a whole lot of extension work today.
think about bringing your shoulder blades back down towards your back pockets. And again, staying nice and settled through the lower back. One more to each side. So this is your last one. Then bring your hands beside you, lifting up, bend the knees, and sink back into a child's pose. Take a couple of nice breaths here. Sink in, and we'll finish with this position. So thank you for joining me for another half an hour of Pilates. Hopefully you got some really good movement out of that, and also started to get a good sense of what you should be doing for the core activation and getting a bit of an ab workout at the same time. I look forward to taking you through another half an hour of Pilates.